story. I worked in '72 in a state mental hospital, and I met Edwin. Edwin was a big, burly guy who came into admission. 2 policemen brought him in, sat him in the conference room, unhooked his handcuffs. The shrinks came in. I came in as a psychiatric aide. We all evaluated. The shrink said, okay, we'll call this chronic undifferentiated, are you listening, Edwin? Chronic undifferentiated schizophrenia, which was really getting funded because when the first psychoanalysts made the DSM, the diagnosis and statistics and measurement for mental health, although there's 0 statistics in that book. The very first book said that a Negro slave running from a plantation in an abusive situation had drapomania. They must be crazy to be running away from being kept well like a good beast. A woman, referencing some of what I've spoken before about women, women have had it really bad being a wife at the turn of the century. If a woman should rebel, want to leave, run away from her husband, talk back, that was mental illness. That was drapomania, that was hysteria. And Freud recommended cocaine to fix that. And there's others. Then the labels changed. The 5th edition is being written right now so that the diagnosis can expand horizontally and vertically. So third-party observations of behavior are called an illness. Well, what is an illness? For an illness to be treated, the first must be an observation, a scientific observation, a diagnosis, and a treatment plan. This happens with the body. But the mind, where is mental illness? What is physically, this concept of the myth of mental illness is rooted in work by Dr. Thomas Zatz, who wrote a book called The Myth of Mental Illness, and explained how coercion was the intention of our early psychoanalysts, which of course has transitioned in the 60s and 70s to a more transpersonal, humanistic approach to counseling. So this fellow Edwin I met in the state mental institution, I had to go to the side room and let him out because he kept exploding with hostile explosive behavior, they called it. Another reason to get funded, another label. It was a frustrating time for me. I didn't understand the purpose of these labels, and then a psychiatrist told me the more labels we can give, the more funding we can get from the government. And the more funding we can get, the more measurement we can make. Although the measurement wasn't really scientific per se. What is science but a method of study? Observations, correlations, right? Are correlations facts? They're not. They're not. And yet this is the weakness of the mental illness industry. It's now become a multi-billion-dollar drug-pushing industry. And I don't want to discount the fact that people have deep emotional, psychological loss and pain and suffering. That does not go away. But to describe a behavior and call it an illness, and then use that as rationale to get money to justify profits for drugs that we all know largely treat symptoms. I'm talking about psychotropic drugs primarily. I do think they're very helpful as intervention, but I think we're in a fast food, fast fixing, fast healing. And Patty can testify, healing starts with a spark and takes time, growth is gradual. So going back to Edwin, I left that job. I was in the city of Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love, and I was taking a train one Sunday afternoon, the light rail train out to Bryn Mawr, out to the country. It was beautiful rolling hills, and lo and behold, I looked in the back of the train. There's no one there but this guy in an overcoat, and he looks kind of nice. He's smiling at me, so I go over to him, and it's Edwin. Oh my God! So I sat in the booth in front of him, held on to the stainless steel bar, made sure I had this wall. We had quite a few violent explosions at the mental institution with him, and he told me his story. He said, you know, when I came to the nut house, he was allowed to say that, when I came to the institution, my wife and I were having marital issues, communication problems. So we went to pastoral counseling, which ended up with the priest and my wife having an affair, denying it. The police arrested me, and naturally I felt like killing somebody. And then we went on talking about sports and the weather. And I left and I thought, this guy had all these labels for being crazy, so, and that's an intentional so. Next time you think you're losing your mind, next time someone calls you crazy, next time you're tempted to call behavior an illness, remember what my father would say. He would say, kiss for the possum. That's a little bit nuts. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank.